Hi, welcome. Today we have an interview with Olivia Fledderman, who's a registered dietitian, works here in Batesville for Margaret Mary, and also has a Facebook page called Sprouted in Strength, where she teaches about healthy living, including nutrition and exercise. Welcome, Olivia.
Hi, Amy. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. So I was hoping that today maybe you could talk a little bit about your Facebook page, The Sprouted in Strength, and help people understand kind of what you do to help people reach their nutrition goals. But maybe first we could talk a little bit about why you're interested in nutrition and how that pathway started for you.
Yeah, so I first got interested in nutrition. I guess I would say, or my first exposure to nutrition really was when my mom was diagnosed with cancer when I was between fourth and fifth grade. And then we started working with Kathy Cooley. She was working at the Hansen Center at that time, which is now the Cancer Center. So my mom was going there for treatments, and Kathy actually helped us to make a lot of nutrition changes and lifestyle changes. And so then that over the course of time, we continued to make more and more changes. So it was a slow, gradual process. But then when I was graduating high school and trying to decide what I wanted to do, nutrition was one thing that I thought I was maybe interested in. So again, I reached back out to Kathy and she kind of helped me to figure out the pathway. And then I eventually ended up at University of Cincinnati, where I pursued my bachelor's degree in dietetics and also got into the coordinated program. So I was able to do my supervised practice through UC as well, and graduate with my bachelor's degree and get a job straight out of school, basically.
Great. And you work now for Margaret Mary, right?
Yes, I do work for Margaret Mary currently. I also, when I was going to school, I was working at Michaela Farm in Oldenburg, so kind of got some of the knowledge beyond just what I had already from gardening myself, but knowledge of growing the food to then also provide nutrition for our bodies as well.
That's so important to be able to have that experience growing the food as well. That's great.
Yes.
And we're so lucky to have Kathy Cooley in this community. She's such a trailblazer in nutrition. So that's wonderful that she was a mentor of yours as well.
Yes, definitely.
So maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you do with patients that are referred to you at Margaret Mary, and also kind of maybe you could tell us a little bit about Sprouted in Strength.
So at Margaret Mary, I do see some outpatients. I mainly see diabetes patients and gestational diabetes. So those patients, if they're referred, they come in for like an hour or so appointment with me, and typically would also see a nurse as well because of the diabetes diagnosis. I work in the community health improvement department. So it's a mixture of dietitians and nurses all working together to improve our community and the health of our community. But more so, what my main focus is at Margaret Mary is community nutrition. So, kind of as Kathy retired, I took over what she had previously been doing. So, if anyone's familiar with the program she was doing, I do a lot of those now. So, things like school gardens, farm to school programs, food pantry programs. I also teach some lifestyle nutrition classes, so not directly targeted at any one condition or disease, but just at healthier living overall. And then do a lot of just speaking events out at organizations that reach out to us and have a need for a dietitian. So, like I said, a lot of being out and about in the community and meeting new people and kind of educating people where they're already at, which is what I enjoy most.
Mhm.
And then through Sprouted and Strength and the things that I do on the side, I again like to try and meet people where they're at and make it more of a fun atmosphere to learn about nutrition. So I do nutrition consulting just with individuals if that's something that is what they're looking for. Otherwise, I also do cooking classes, which I really enjoy. I've hosted cooking classes at the galley. I've done some private cooking classes as well. I've actually also had like organizations or like local libraries reach out wanting me to come and do a cooking class at their location. So I have done a couple of those at libraries around the area. And I have partnered with like a local restaurant in Brookville and helped to introduce healthier meal options there. So again, kind of getting the opportunity to talk about nutrition with individuals at all kinds of different settings, and then hopefully getting them on board with changing some of their nutrition habits as well.
Yeah, and helping to change the culture around nutrition. I mean, I think, I lived in Colorado for 10 years, and the nutrition culture is very different than in the Midwest. And so I think, a lot of times here, social events are around, eating or drinking as opposed to maybe, active events. So if there were healthier eating options, that would be wonderful. So that's great that you're helping to kind of change the culture of nutrition.
Yes.
Yeah. So you also are a member of the Food and Growers Association, right?
I am. I technically am the secretary of the Food and Growers Association, which is located or headed here out of Batesville. But then we kind of focus on the whole southeastern Indiana region.
So if someone was interested in working a little bit on their nutrition, what would be a way that they could contact you for options in having someone help them walk through, maybe looking at what they're eating and giving some healthier ideas or suggestions, or teaching some healthier recipes? How would someone go about doing that?
Yeah, so the easy way, if you have Facebook, you can go to Facebook, and all of my contact information is listed on there. So if you go to Sprouted in Strength and go to my Facebook page, I do have my email listed as well as my phone number. If you don't have Facebook, you can always just email me. My email for Sprouted in Strength is sproutedinstrength@gmail.com. So you're more than welcome to reach out there. And I try and get back to emails as quickly as possible.
How might a 1 hour, is that typical 1 hour visit? Is that a typical first time visit? How might a initial 1 hour visit look for somebody that's interested? Should they come in with maybe a food diary, or what do you usually recommend?
Yeah, so typically how I've been doing my nutrition consulting appointments is that the first appointment, actually it kind of depends, because sometimes I have people that decide up front that they're wanting more of like a follow-up kind of deal. So I do offer a package option where if they do that from the start, then it's a little bit cheaper and they get 3 appointments. So that way the first one then would be a little more like gathering their information, finding out what they're currently doing, and just making some general recommendations. But then we could get a little more specific with the next 2. And it also just provides the opportunity for follow-up, which I know a lot of times is helpful for people because it holds them a little more accountable than what they might do on their own. And like I said, it just provides the opportunity for them to get more feedback from me and additional ideas for changes they could make. However, if you just want one single appointment, that's fine as well. I do those. And then in that case, we would spend a little less time, try and make it a little more of a quick process of figuring out where you're currently at, and then trying to make suggestions that are personalized to where you're currently at and what's going to be most beneficial to you before the end of that appointment.
Okay, that sounds very helpful. I think sometimes people get caught up in habits. They're eating the same things every day, and we know that there is great benefit to having a diverse amount of flora in our microbiome, and so trying new foods. So I think you're partnering that with teaching cooking is really helpful, because then people have all these additional ideas on how they can make new breakfast options or lunch options or supper options, and how they can prepare ahead so they're not getting to the point where they're just hungry and then eating whatever happens to be around. So that's great. So thank you, Olivia, for that. I really appreciate that. Is there anything you want to make sure people know that might be coming to see you for ideas for nutrition? Any additional information?
I do try, because I know sometimes when people are reaching out about nutrition or maybe even cooking classes, things like that, it can be a little bit thinking like what I'm going to tell them is going to be difficult, or it's going to be like too time require too much time or too much energy, which it does require some time and energy, but I do understand that we're all super busy, and we have schedules beyond just what we're cooking to eat and our nutrition and exercise. So I do try and make recipes or nutrition suggestions that are easy to implement or easiest as compared to other ones, and also something that's going to be sustainable for a course of time. So, but also with that being said, I try and make sure that if it's about recipes and things like that, it's things that still taste good as well. So basically try and keep things simple, but also fun and enjoyable at the same time.
That's great. Yeah, we don't want it to feel overwhelming or unattainable. So I like that you're meeting patients where they're at.
Yes.
So we'll put a link in this for people so that they can find out how to contact you if they'd like to learn a little bit more about nutrition. And I'll also put a link to your Facebook page so people can see some of the great recipes that you've already posted.
Okay, that will be fantastic.
So thank you very much for your time. And I'm looking forward to having patients work with you to learn more about nutrition.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you for allowing me to share a little bit of what I'm doing with your patients, and hopefully I can be of some help to some of them.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.